As a migration agent, I get asked the same question over and over again. What are my chances of getting Australian permanent residency? This is my point score. This is my occupation. What do you think? In this video, I am going to walk you through exactly what you need to know. And I am going to give you my honest take. Let's get into the details right now. Australia's General Skilled Migration Program has three major visa types: the 189, the 190, and the 491. All three are point tested and all three require either the Department of Home Affairs or a state or territory government to nominate you before you can apply. There are no exceptions to this. You cannot simply decide you want the visa and submit an application. Someone has to nominate you first. Now, with that foundation in place, let's talk about the points test. The points test gives you a score based on several factors: your age, your English ability, your work experience, your highest level of education, and a few other things, like whether your partner speaks competent English. The minimum to be in the pool across all three visas is 65 points. But here is what a lot of people forget. Your nominated occupation is just as important as your point score. If you are a registered nurse during the COVID period, you could get an invitation with just 65 points. But if your occupation is in lower demand, having the minimum score is unlikely to get you invited. Points matter, but occupation matters just as much. Whenever someone asks me what are my chances, I always ask three things before I give any opinion. First, is your occupation on the right list? Second, are you onshore or offshore right now? And third, how competitive is that occupation at the moment? These three questions shape everything. Let me walk you through each one. Only occupations on the medium to long-term strategic skills list, the MLTSSL, can apply for the 189 visa. For the 190 and 491, you can also use occupations on the short-term list and the regional occupation list. And if your occupation is only on the regional occupation list, you are generally limited to the 491 or the employer-sponsored 494 pathway. Here is a practical example. If you are a chef, the federal government is happy for you to apply for 189, 190 or 491, but the key word is nominated. You still need a state to nominate you for 190 or 491. In New South Wales, chef is not on their skills list. So if you live in New South Wales, you can really only look at the 189 unless another state is willing to accept you. Always check the individual state list, not just the federal one. This is something people overlook all the time. Some states and territories simply do not accept offshore applicants. If you are currently outside Australia and the state you are targeting doesn't take offshore applications, it doesn't matter if you have 120 points, you are not eligible. Full stop. So if you are offshore, the first thing you need to check is which states actually consider offshore applications for your occupation. If you are already in Australia in a specific state, then we look at whether your occupation is on that state's list and whether you meet their residency or employment requirements. Location matters more than people realize. Now let's look at how competitive your occupation really is. Take accountants as an example. If you are an accountant with 70 points asking me about 189, 190 or 491, I am going to tell you honestly, your chances are very low. The last 189 invitation round for accountants was going out at 95 points or higher. You are 25 points below the cutoff. Now, for the 189, the federal government ranks purely by points. Highest points get invited first. No exceptions. That is the policy. But for 190 and 491, each state has its own criteria, its own quotas, and its own occupation lists. It is not always purely about points. It depends on what the state needs at that time. Knowing the invitation history for your specific occupation is absolutely critical before you make any assumptions. When I sit down with a client, I split the points table into two categories. Category 1, things you can change. Your English score. You can study harder, try a different testing center, sit the exam more than once, and the CCL test, completing this gives you an automatic 5 points. Australian study, completing at least 2 years of study in Australia gives you extra points. Work experience. Actively working in your nominated occupation builds your score. And if you have a partner, have they done their English test? Can they get a skills assessment? These things can add up to 10 points on your behalf. Before you ask a migration agent, what are my chances? Ask yourself, have I done everything I possibly can to maximize these factors? Category 2, things you cannot change. The main one is your age. Once you have passed a certain threshold, you cannot go back. We do not have a time machine. My honest advice, don't linger on the things you can't control. Don't spend energy worrying about your age or anything else that is fixed. Put all your focus on the things you actually have the power to change. That is where your energy belongs. This comes up a lot. Should I move to another state to improve my chances? My answer is only if it makes strategic sense. Back to the chef example. You are a chef in New South Wales. NSW doesn't have chef on their list, but Western Australia does, and they have quota available. If moving to WA makes sense for your career and your life, then yes, that is a valid move. But moving just for the sake of moving, without a job, without connections, without a real plan, that is not a good idea. And when you do move, you need to understand the state residency requirement. Many states require you to live and work there for at least 3 to 6 months before they will even consider your nomination application. Always check the state policy before you pack your bags. Now, let's talk about the risks of switching occupations. Let's say early childhood education recently had a 189 round inviting at 65 points. You decide to study it, but by the time you are done, the next round might require 80 or 85 points and you only have 65. Let's say early childhood education recently had a 189 round inviting at 65 points. You decide to study it, but by the time you are done, the next round might require 80 or 85 points and you only have 65. You have now changed your entire pathway based on speculation. If you have no other pathway, it might be worth exploring, but go in with your eyes open, not your fingers crossed. So, what are your chances? The honest answer is it depends on your occupation, your location, your points, and whether you have done everything within your power to maximize your score. If you are not sure or you want someone to map out your options clearly, drop a video in the comments right now and the team at Ultimate Migration will personally reach out to you and map out your pathway. No cost, no catch. Just real advice from registered migration agents who have helped hundreds of people build their life in Australia. And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe, give this a like and drop your questions in the comments. I read every single one. Your Australian life is closer than you think. I will see you in the next one.